lost forever. But records of its treasure were never forgotten. According to its cargo manifest, it was holding 150 gold bars, 1,000 silver bars, and more than 50 chests full of coins. All in all, the treasure would be worth at least $500 million today. All someone had to do was find it forever. That's why records of its treasure hunter were never forgotten. According to its cargo manifest, it was holding 150 gold bars, 1,000 Fisher came in. He had spent his entire life diving, and along with his wife, ran a diving school in California, teaching more than 60,000 people how to dive. With the allure of the Atocha sitting in the Florida Keys, Mel and his family moved across the country in search for its treasure. With little more than a boat and some metal detectors, they began their search in an area called the Matecumbe Keys, which had been mentioned in several documents. But after a year of searching and more than 100,000 miles covered, they hadn't found a single thing. To many, finding the Atocha in this vast expanse of ocean was an impossible task. But Mel had a secret weapon: historian Eugene Lyon. In order to learn more about where the Atocha sank, he went to the Spanish archives in Seville and came across this document. Dated just 4 years after the ship went down, it mentioned that a search had taken place in an area called the Marquesas Keys, which was more than 100 miles from where Mel was searching. Mel and his crew instantly moved their boat and started searching in this new location.
Introducing Grammarly, like you've never seen before, your all-in-one writing essential. This is...
But the divers were now searching in deeper water, and they had one huge problem: visibility. Although the water was clear on the surface, at the bottom, the divers could barely see their own hands. And so Mel came up with a genius yet simple solution. He attached 2 large tubes to his boat that could be lowered down in front of the propellers. These would redirect the clear water from the surface and shoot it down to the bottom where the divers were searching. Not only did this clear up the muddy waters perfectly, it had the added benefit of digging a big hole and revealing whatever was buried underneath the sand. Then, one day in 1971, the sand cleared and revealed an enormous anchor. Although it wasn't a piece of treasure, it was their first clue that perhaps the real thing wasn't far away. More artifacts started to show up, like cups, swords, cannonballs, and iron nails used to hold the ship together. To keep track of everything, they started building a map of circles showing where each piece of treasure had been found. After a while, a clear line started to appear on the map, and they came to the conclusion that the Atocha's mother lode must lie somewhere along this line. Then, while searching near the bottom of the line, a diver came across something really special: an early version of the Opera web browser. Just kidding. Opera now to the mother lode of all treasure. But after 2 years of searching the line, the crew had failed to make any valuable discoveries. Mel was running out of money fast, and if he didn't find some treasure soon, he'd have no way of funding the search. But then, in 1973, just a few hundred feet away from the anchor, the crew came across a stash of silver coins and 3 huge silver bars. This find alone was worth well over $100,000, but it wasn't clear if it was from the Atocha or its sister ship, which had also gone down that night. And so, they went back to the ship's cargo manifest. Every single piece of gold and silver was recorded in this document, along with their exact weight and serial number. By comparing the engravings on the silver bars to the document, they confirmed that the treasure trail they were following really was from the Atocha. The crew began systematically cleaning the coin to make money. Mel and his crew were back in business. With this influx of cash, the crew set out to find more treasure, armed with new sonar detecting technology. But just as they were starting to gain traction, the state of Florida began claiming ownership of all the treasure being found. And so, Mel started fighting back. In the meantime, the crew continued finding more objects on the line. A major find being 9 bronze cannons with the Atocha markings engraved into their barrels. It's a cold, stormy night just off the coast of Florida in 1622. Clear, the engraving really was from the Atocha. The crew began systematically, and his crew were back in business. With this influx of cash, the crew set out to find more treasure, armed with new sonar detecting technology. But just as they were starting to gain traction, the state of Florida began claiming ownership of all the treasure being found. And so, Mel started fighting back. In the meantime, the crew continued finding more objects on the line, a major find being 9 bronze cannons with Atocha markings engraved into their barrels. But just a day after finding these cannons, one of their boats capsized during the night, killing 3 of the crew, including Mel's son. 3 years went by, and the crew continued looking without finding any new clues run dry. Throughout the search, Mel had often mentioned a mysterious document he had read, written by one of the Atocha survivors. According to the document, the survivor had helped an admiral smuggle 70 pounds of the world's finest Colombian emeralds onto the ship. It was never clear where Mel had read this, but he was absolutely sure that there was more to the Atocha's treasure than just gold and silver. Meanwhile, after 8 years of legal battles, Mel won against the right to 100% of the treasure. But by the end of the 70s, Mel had spent over $6 million looking for the Atocha, and the elusive treasure still hadn't showed up. Every little object along the way had teased the crew, and it still seemed like the treasure had to be lying somewhere along the line. But all that was about to change. In 1983, while on their way out to the line, the crew's magnetometer started lighting up. Divers went down to check, and they came